Ladies and gentlemen, please be upstanding for the Chairman of Council, Councillor Mary Sartin.
If I can first of all ask Mr Woodhall to read out the webcasting notice.
Thank you. The Chairman would like to remind everyone present that this meeting will be broadcast live to the internet and will be capable of repeated viewing or other such use by third parties. If you are seated in the lower public seating area, it is likely that the recording cameras will capture your image, and this will result in the possibility that your image will become part of the broadcast. This may infringe your human and data protection rights, and if you wish to avoid this, you should move to the upper public gallery. And could also remind members to switch on their microphones before speaking and switch them off after they're finished. Thank you.
Thank you very much. On to item 2, apologies for absence.
Yes, Chairman. We have quite a few apologies this evening. We have apologies from Councillor Baldwin, Councillor Bassett, Councillor Barnott, Councillor Hadley, Councillor Bob Jennings, Councillor Judy Jennings, Councillor Matthews, Councillor Espatel, Councillor Pugsley, Councillor Rackham, Councillor Plummer, Councillor Stalker and Councillor Janet Whitehouse.
Thank you very much. Councillor Helen Kane. Yes, but he had actually formally sent his apologies as well, so I think that it comes as 2 separate parts, I think, on the minutes. Yeah. Sorry, Councillor Pond. Yes. Okay. Nobody else has got any to pass on. Thank you very much. So, declarations of interest, anybody?
Chairman, if I may.
Councillor,
I can't seem to get my raising my hand bit on my iPad.
And you have a
Can you hear me?
Yes, do you have a declaration of interest?
No declaration of interest. Just wanted to inform you that circumstances have changed, so I'm joining the meeting online. And we've got Councillor Bassett and Councillor Barnott on as well. I think they were read out as apologies.
Yeah, we're aware that you are all online.
Okay, great.
And you'll be shown on the minutes, I believe, as being present virtually, but there are still apologies for not attending the meeting in person, as I understand it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
So item 4, the minutes of the last meeting, which are on pages 7 to 34 of the agenda. Does anyone have any comments before they approve, or are you happy to approve them as a correct record? Thank you very much. Before we go through into the rest of the agenda, I will just ask to check that everybody is aware that we have got 4 supplementary reports this evening. The first one relates to the Housing and Community Portfolio Holders Report. The second one is an updated report from the Technical Services Portfolio Holder, Councillor Williamson, which replaces pages 59 to 64 on your agenda. And the third one is an updated report from the Contracts and Commissioning Portfolio Holder, Councillor Avey, which replaces pages 57 and 58 on the agenda. And then finally, you've got a 4th supplementary, which deals with agenda items 11A and item 12. So everybody got access to all of those reports. Councillor Morgan?
No, Chairman, we've only got, Councillor Alford, I've only got the first 2.
Right.
I don't know what's happened. Have they been sent out? Or?
They were sent out, well, they were sent out as email attachments, and they're also available on the council's agenda for the this meeting on our iPads. I think we have a spare copy which we'll get through to you in a minute. So moving on to item 5, Chairman's announcements. I've just got a few things that I was going to reference this evening. The first one was to actually one of congratulations, and I noticed that Councillor Bannock is attending virtually this evening, but it was to congratulate him on receiving an MBE in the Queen's Birthday Honours List for his services to the community of Chigwell. So that was congratulations to him on that. And and the second one that I was going to mention was another local recipient of an award was Derek Whitbread, who received a BME in recognition of his 47 years service as an on-call fireman based here in Epping. He's currently the on-call watch manager at Epping Fire Station and has also in the past been recognised for this work at one of our Civic Awards evenings some years ago. So I felt it was worth mentioning the recognition that he'd received for all of those years' service locally. I've attended a variety of events over the past weeks, which have included representing the district at the Lord Lieutenant's Platinum Jubilee service in Chelmsford Cathedral, and also services to rededicate the War Memorial in St Andrew's Churchyard at North Weald, as well as the rededication of the Norwegian Stone, which sits outside of the airfield near to the Airfield Museum. The other thing I would mention is the annual petanque match between Epping Town Council and the District Council, which took place at the beginning of this month. Unfortunately, our team of Councillor Sunga and myself proved to be no match for the Town Council, but congratulations must go to the winning team of Councillor John Whitehouse and Councillor Michael Wright from Epping Town Council. I know that Councillor Sunga will be practising hard before next year's match. And again, I can't move on without congratulating all the young people from across the district who received Jack Petchey Achievements Awards this year. I was privileged to be able to present the awards. Many of the young people at local schools, they're in local clubs, and they're also recipients from our own youth council. So I felt that it was a very good evening, good to hear all the things that they had been doing that had brought them to that position where they had been recognised and were achieving those awards. And just finally, I'm looking forward to in the coming weeks to being able to see some of the activities that are being put on by our community cultural and wellbeing team for the young people during the school holidays. And I know that Councillor Sunga will be visiting some of those as well. And as a final mention, this is for members to a reminder, you have all had emails around this, and I know a lot of people attended the first one, but there will be another member officer coffee morning on September the 14th. I did go along to the last one, as I know quite a number of other councillors did as well, and I think we all found it quite a worthwhile exercise. I know not everybody can manage to do daytime coffee mornings in 10 o'clock in the morning, but equally it did give that opportunity to meet with a variety of officers. So I would just remind members of that is coming up again in September. So we now move on to item 6, which is public questions. And we do have a public question this evening. We have with us Mrs. Mary Dadds. Welcome to this meeting. And I know that you have got a question to put to us. So if you turn your microphone on.
Right, thank you and good evening. I'm chairman of Ongar Neighbourhood
I think
Plan.
the protocol is that you stand up. I'm sorry, but it's just that.
Is that all right?
Yeah, that's fine.
Sorry. I'm chairman of Ongar Neighbourhood Plan Community Group, which is also the steering group for the Neighbourhood Plan, and many of you will know that is now being passed by your cabinet to go forward for a referendum. And I do want to also commend your local plan, which I know is nearing to become adoption, and the policies therein. And it's relating to that I want to ask a question. You have got some 4,000 more new homes expected to be delivered over the planned period in various towns and parishes. The housing mix policy is supported by the SHMA and the OAHN household predictions, indicating number of bedrooms and flats or houses, and EFDC's housing mix planning guidance note, May 2021 draft 4, also indicates the type of housing or flat, number of stories, gardens, and housing mix, the number of bedrooms expected for each band of density. Clearly, as indicated in the local plan housing policies, it is crucial that to ensure that the mixed and balanced communities are retained and achieved, or achieved, and that supporting educational and health services can be planned ahead. The overall approximate number, as you probably know, is approximately 70% 3 or more bedrooms, 20% 2 bedrooms, and 10% 1 bedroom, although the affordable and intermediate mixes are slightly different from the market housing, with the former having more 1 and 2 bedroomed homes than the intermediate. That said, the same mix is currently in Onga's housing mix, according to the national statistics, and the Onga Neighbourhood Plan 2020 to 2023 endorses and supports EFDC's local plan housing mix, but specific to Onga Civil Parish. Allocated sites have been designated, indicating density and therefore approximate capacity, depending on whether they are edge of settlement, urban, etc. And the NPPF expects efficient use of land, as paragraph 124 states, the desirability of maintaining an area's prevailing character. Our concern, and I know this is one across the board, is that it's more profitable for developers to offer a required number of affordable homes or other homes on a major development site as a mix, but with predominantly smaller houses or flats with 1 to 2 bedrooms, and also smaller dimensions of room sizes and outdoor space, including in locations where density favours larger units. This is already evident in at least 2 developments recently applying for planning approval. And this, of course, will not fulfil the housing mix need over the planned period, with communities and towns that are unlikely to end up with the appropriate housing mix, even if they fulfil their numbers, with probably too few family homes in low-density edge of settlement locations. We're concerned because the imbalance is unlikely to be able to be reset in remaining allocated sites coming forward later in the local plan lifetime, and in turn this could adversely affect educational facility forecasting and health services predictions, and in turn could lead to less stable communities. So my questions, and it's related to the one question really, is how is the housing mix for new developments being monitored generally in EFDC, and specifically in civil parishes or wards, as allocated sites and windfall sites are coming forward, including the mix of affordable housing? And related to that, secondly, the housing mix guidance notes for developers would ensure local plan policies are fulfilled and the housing mix suit the housing needs, but how is the guidance note being used in the housing and planning departments, including the recommendations for planning application approval or refusal by housing officers and planning officers? And if there is no monitoring in either department or both departments, please can this be set up as soon as possible?
Thank you very much. And I believe Councillor Bedford has got a response.
Thank you.
Thank you. I would like to thank Ms Stead for that rather lengthy introduction and 3 questions at the very end. We tried to save you some time tonight by actually advising you beforehand that the response this evening would not be forthcoming because the officer is on annual leave. We will, however, get a detailed response to you as soon as the person returns from leave. I hope that suffices. Thank you.
And can I ask, will that response be published in the minutes? Thank you. Okay, thank you very much. So if we move on to item 8, the reports from the leader and members of the Cabinet. As I say, you've got some of those as a supplementary, and you've got updated ones for a couple of the reports. If I can go first of all to the Leader of Council for his verbal report.
Thank you, Chairman. Chairman, it seems like 5 minutes since the last time we met, and yet indeed it was back in May. During this period of time, of course, I've been meeting with Cabinet colleagues and discussing the work programme for the year ahead and what the Cabinet is seeking to achieve. We've also had a number of meetings in the initial work on the Council's corporate plan, which is emerging and will be coming in due course to select panels and back to the Cabinet again. So there's a lot of work going on at the present time. Of course, we're also still meeting with different council leaders, Harlow, Uttlesford in recent weeks, to discuss ways in which we may work together in the future. We are receiving presentations on a regular basis from officers in relation to a whole range of issues, from asset management through to social housing in the future, which I know my colleagues will touch upon in greater detail. I've also had some more pleasant duties, including with yourself, the Norwegian Stone rededication. And of course, I had the opportunity to show the gentlemen, the representatives of the Norwegian Air Force around Northwood Airfield, which is one of the asset prides of our district. And I much welcome that opportunity to show off Northwood. And of course, from there, we have also had the opportunity to go out to the first of a couple of schools, and I hope to do more in the near future, to meet our youth counsellors and other students in situ and see some of the brilliant work that's been done in our schools across the district. I'm hoping that once we get back into the new term, I shall be doing others, including my old school of St John's in Epping, in due course. So there's lots going on at the moment, and I'm sure my Cabinet colleagues have done a brilliant job in representing in their reports much of what we're doing. In the weeks ahead, I've got meetings arranged with BIFA to discuss some of the issues around waste collection, which I will have my colleague Nigel Avey present as well, and other Cabinet colleagues, to discuss how we are going to address some of those issues in the future and work together to make sure that our residents get the waste collection that they deserve. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much. And can I just ask if any other Cabinet members have got anything to add to their reports? Councillor Holly Whitbread.
Thank you, Chairman, and I have quite a lengthy report and a supplementary this month, but just to add the really good news that we actually received some Safer Streets funding from the government, £338,000, which we've matched kindly by Councillor Phillip with £169,000, and this is part of a national initiative, it's in the name, to keep streets safer, but what we'll be using the money for is to invest in the Ninefield estates, particularly around CCTV, making sure those communal spaces are more open and safe, also around signage and around the bin spaces as well. Historically, we've had numerous issues of antisocial behaviour, as well as some drug issues and fly tipping issues. So hopefully this money will see an improvement in Ninefields, and we welcome our close collaboration with the Police and Fire and Crime Commissioner, Roger Hurst. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Phillip.
Thank you, Chairman. I've got two pieces I want to add to my report tonight. I would like to start by thanking a resident who spotted that the Qualis Community Interest Company did not file its reports on time. That company is dormant, but it should still have filed accounts. I have spoken to the Managing Director of Qualis on this. She assures me that those accounts nil return, though it will be filed this week. It's down to issues around staffing and the fact that because the company was dormant, it wasn't included in the items for audit through the auditors. That will be added to the process going forward, so it will not happen again. And on the other hand, rather better news, I'd like to inform Council that just before the close of business tonight, we actually submitted our response to the Shared Prosperity Fund, so that has gone into the government. We will hear from the government sometime around October on the result of our bid. That was a significant piece of work, and it's worth noting that we as a council took much more of this through the democratic process. We actually had a report to it at Cabinet. That's significantly different from other councils, but it's good news that it's in, and it's in ahead of time.
Thank you very much. I don't see any other Cabinet members indicating. Oh, sorry, Councillor Williamson.
Chair, there's just a couple of things to add to the report. The pavement licensing, since it was drafted, has been extended until September 2023. I understand the licensing hearing for the Crocky Billet is this Tuesday. And on the new planning system, we are trying to get a members' briefing together. It was at one point going to be on before this meeting, but it proved impossible. But it will be available in the near future.
Thank you very much. So that, we then move on to questions by members without notice. Sorry, Councillor Balcombe, and then I've got Councillor Heap, and I think I saw Councillor McIver. So, Councillor Balcombe.
Thank you, Chair. I would like to ask the portfolio holder for finance how much progress has been made in distributing the £150 energy grant, especially to those who do not pay by direct debit. Further to that, is there any news of the discretionary scheme, and can you remind us how much money has been allocated to it?
Councillor Phillip.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Councillor Balcombe, for that detailed question. I have got some detailed information provided to me by Rob Pavey. Essentially, the main government scheme has been completed by our Revenue and Benefits. That's on top of the work they've been doing all the rest of the time. So that's achieved more than 10 weeks ahead of the end date of September. Just a few figures in terms of the direct debit payers and the BACS payments. Almost 21,200 of those have been paid. Of the non-direct debit payers, we also paid via BACS somewhat over 3,300. And for those that we didn't have bank details for and therefore couldn't pay directly, we've credited the £150 to their council tax account, and that was just over 7,200. The total amount of money that we did for that was 4,773,000 for our 31, almost 32,000 council taxpayers who qualified for it. We did send letters to all people who were eligible for the £150, and we'd have paid it back to those who responded. The ones who didn't, those are the ones we credited to the council tax account. The revenue benefit scheme is now moving on to the discretionary funding. That's another 377,000, primarily to those in receipt of council tax support. The deadline for that is the end of November, though we do expect to be completing that, like we did with this one, significantly before the deadline. I have more details on that scheme if we need them at some point, but I will come back to council in the future with an update on what's going on.
Thank you very much. Councillor Heap.
Thank you, Chairman. In April, I asked the planning portfolio holder a question and drew much opprobrium for it, including the leader, who said it was out of order to ask the question. But he said he couldn't answer because it was under investigation. So I thought I'd ask for an update on the investigation, but I happen to know there was no investigation, and I have that from the Democratic Services Officer, who was also at the meeting. So can we go back to the original question of, do you think that clandestine meetings between senior EFD officers and Conservative district councillors to discuss an ongoing planning matter from a Conservative parish council sends out the right signals of fairness and openness?
Thank you. Councillor Bedford.
Thank you, Chairman. Would Councillor Heap like to declare an interest first? Sorry.
I'm unaware of any interest that I have, apart from just being interested.
Thank you, Chairman. My response has been sought and processed through by legal, and the response is the circumstances of which you've already been advised, Councillor Heap, surrounding the meeting took place with ward councillors and officers prior to the Russell Road application. It has been investigated, and the monitoring officer is satisfied that nothing untoward took place and no further action is needed to be taken. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor McIver.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. My question is for, I believe this to the leader. I'm sure the leader will join me in thanking all of the excellent fire service who did an amazing job supporting particularly our rural communities during the recent heat wave. And I'm sure all of our thoughts are with those who were negatively affected by some of the rural fires we saw. Rightly, many residents are anxious and concerned about some of the scenes we've seen in places like Wellington. And my question is, could the leader please reassure us all that our council's emergency procedures are well tested, and of course that officers and this council stands ready to support any of our residents who may find themselves in a very upsetting situation that other Essex residents have found themselves in?
Thank you. Councillor Whitbread.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. Chairman, it gives me an opportunity to pay tribute to our firefighters who do an excellent job. And as you mentioned earlier on, my brother actually received his award for 47 years worth of service. And I remember that from the drought of 1976 when we had field fires and forest fires all over the place. And it's not just thanks to our firefighters, but also thanks to their families, because they are really on the front line and do a brilliant job and work very long hours on behalf of our communities. So I think it's really important to pay tribute to them at this stage. With regards to our own emergency plan, I have every confidence in what we have in place. Last year we had a fire in Woodland Grove, and I have to say our team were first class. But whenever you have an emergency, you will learn something from it. And that's what this council has always been very good at over the years, whether it be emergencies on Northfield or in any other part of the district. I always have confidence that our officers develop every time, and we always try and do that bit better. But thank you for asking the question, because I think it's really useful that we highlight the hard work that goes on in our community, and our deepest thanks for those people who keep us safe.
Thank you very much. Councillor Amos.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I've been pleased to see in recent reports that we are producing a programme to improve our older housing properties. But I would like to ask, is there a specific programme for improving the insulation, which is particularly pertinent at this time with the rising energy costs? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think that's probably one for Councillor Holly Whitbread.
Thank you, Chairman, and I was pleased to see Councillor Amos at the recent reopening of Frank Breton House in Ongar. In terms of insulation, you'll be aware that we are conducting a council house regeneration programme at the moment, and it is something we're reviewing and looking at as part of that. The issue is obviously it is very, very costly, although over recent years we have worked with tenants to look at installations in council-owned properties and trying to get that up to the top spec possible. What I would say, what we also do is when we build in the most, especially our new properties and those we're regenerating in the most environmental way possible. We work really, really closely with the team to look at the different solutions moving forward, particularly in terms of kind of smart meters, solar panels. But yeah, it's something we're always working on. We're mindful of cost because obviously we want to deliver as much council housing as possible as well. But yeah, it's certainly something we're mindful of, and I will get a full response on that on the detail of installation specifically. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Murray.
Thank you, Chairman. In light of the question I'm going to ask, I just reference my declaration of interest as regards to two organisations I'm going to mention. My question is to the Leader of Council. Is he aware how difficult the 6 weeks summer holidays are for a significant minority of families here in Epping Forest? And would you like to use this meeting as a further opportunity to put on record to our thanks to the Surplus Food Hub, 3 Food for You Hub, who during the summer holidays will be running 30 sessions, 5 sessions a week for the 6 weeks? And would he further like to put on thanks again, our thanks to the Epping Forest Food Bank, who will be running over 24 sessions during the 6 weeks of the summer holiday. And last week, in a targeted programme with the primary schools, we were able to distribute over 2.5 tonnes of food to 110 families across the Epping Forest district, personally delivered to them by a team of volunteers. So a recognition of how difficult the 6 weeks are for a significant number of our families here in Epping Forest, and a recognition of the important work that the Food Hub and the Food Bank will be doing on the summer holidays while other people go away and have holidays. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Whitbread.
Thank you, Chairman. I will answer part of the question, then I will hand over to Councillor Holly Whitbread, who has a really good knowledge of what's actually been offered out there in our communities at this time. And Councillor Murray is quite correct. This can be a difficult time for families when you've got young children at home and you're still having to work. And I don't think any of us can forget at this particular time the issues that people are facing out there, particularly with the cost of living crisis that everyone is fully aware of. But we should also welcome, as well as the work that is done in our communities by the Epping Forest Food Bank and others, that the County Council is also running a whole range of summer events. And of course, here in Epping Forest, we're actively engaged as well. I know the portfolio holder will make further comments in a moment, but I do understand and really have concern for our residents at the present time. I know how hard it is for families. I remember from when I was younger, my parents used to have to work during the summer holidays, and how difficult it is to get support at that time. And of course, not everyone is fortunate enough to be enjoying the summer holidays on the beach or elsewhere, and some just have to make their way through it, which is really, really difficult. But I am going to hand over to Councillor Holly Whitbread, because I know she's doing some brilliant work on this issue, and her team are fully engaged.
Councillor Holly Whitbread.
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, Councillor Murray, for that important question. And I think what is important is residents know what is available out there. There is a plethora of support actually through my Essex County Council role. I would like to highlight the Activate Holiday Camp clubs, which are fantastic, and they're put on throughout the district. That offers a full day of activities, which includes a meal as well as educational enrichment activities, sports, and there's lots of different ones actually. I think there's one with animals, one with music, as well as kind of sport activities. Last year I went to one in my own ward in Thornwood Common, which is run by the West Ham Academy. I believe that's going ahead this year. So I would direct any residents to look to see if they're, first of all, eligible for that, but it's a great thing to do. Also a great opportunity for young people to see their peers during the summer holidays. But there's also other support available when people are in times of crisis, whether that be the Essential Living Fund and various other grants through Essex County Council. I have actually recently put together a bit of a guide of what is out there and what support is available, which will be not advertising my own Facebook page, but I'll link it on there. But I certainly would like to echo my thanks to the food banks locally for the work they do, which is really important, but also making sure that people know what is out there is vital. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor McCready.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Looking on page 37 and tree planting, it's really to be welcomed, the number of trees that have been planted recently. But what worries me is during this rather prolonged period of dry weather, how these young trees are faring. Are they having the aftercare? Are they being watered? Or are they dying? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Bedford.
Thank you very much for that question. As you're quite aware, Councillor McCready, that it's not just a case of digging a hole and shoving a tree in the hole. There is a proper management plan around tree planting schemes across the district, which is fully supported normally by town and parish councils. So they'll take on board an allocation of trees, arrange for local people or communities to plant those trees, clear the ground, etc. But then there's normally a watering programme that goes in. I think you would have to agree with me that this particular year is an exceptional year with regards to drought. I go and visit Matching Green every day, and the pond is almost dry. The ground is like concrete. So, yes, it is a difficult time for trees, and people can only do what they can do. I think we also need to look to the future. And that future might be that we look at different types of trees that are actually more susceptible to actually survive in drought conditions. So we could see the green and pleasant land, as we call it, the actual structure of our tree environment changing over the next 50 to 100 years. And it will need to change, because otherwise it will burn, it will die out, and we will lose the glorious trees that we've got now, and there'll be nothing to replace them. So we have to look to the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Chris Pond.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. This is a question to the Deputy Leader because it arises out of his report on page 35, which is the advice which has been given by the local plan inspector on further main modifications. Can you just say when these will be issued for formal public consultation, which I think has to last 3 months, what will be the starting and the terminal dates of the consultation?
Thank you. Councillor Bedford.
Very much. Thank you very much, Councillor Pond. Yes, the inspector, Mr. Bohr, has written to us with quite an extensive timetable. He's actually, as I say, running the show. He's sort of dictating to us that he wants everything completed by autumn of this year and full council, so we'll take that as being perhaps the end of October time. I'll stretch it that far because it needs to go that far. The inspector has written to us with about 106 questions that he submitted to us, and out of those 106 he's been very helpful in actually drafting some of the word changes that he wanted. Some of the wording we are challenging, only a few bits here and there, and that is really around the previous inspector's recommendations about previous word changes, and we're supplying the information back to Mr. Bohr on how we came to that decision and changed that wording. So there's a slight delay there. I was hoping that we could have released this in mid-July to go to consultation, but obviously we're hitting the summer holidays now, and that's going to cause a slight delay, and I would prefer it to go out as soon as possible, but not, if possible, during the summer holidays. So as soon as it's ready, it will go out. However, I would suggest that last year we gave it 8 weeks for consultation. This year it will only be 6 weeks because there's only minor changes, and I hope that helps satisfy you that the consultation should be completed by late summer, and then final re-evaluation of those major modifications, or minor modifications as you want to call them. We will be going to a full council in the autumn. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Lucas. Councillor Bedford, your microphone.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. My question is with regards to the summer activities that we have across the district. I'm really pleased to see the efforts that have been put in with regards to the number of activities that have been planned across the district, and I would just like to know a little bit more about those, please, and if there are any other activities that are going to be planned later throughout the year. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you very much for the question, Councillor Lucas. I'm very pleased to say that as restrictions have reduced and we've returned to a normal way of life following the height of the COVID pandemic, the Council's community, culture and wellbeing team have put on a jam-packed programme of activities this summer. With the summer holidays in full flow, I can confirm that bookings for the Children's Holiday Activity Programme 2022 are coming in thick and fast, and many events are now fully booked. The play in the park sessions are proving particularly popular this year. Members will read from my report that CCW are piloting a new style of brochure called What's On in Epping Forest. I actually have a copy of it here with me today. These are for the months of July, August and September, promoting our activities, programmes, events, community initiatives for all ages and volunteering opportunities for adults, all in one publication. This booklet is available online on the Council's website or in a hard copy from the civic offices or from the District Council Museum. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Yerrell.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I'm really pleased to hear that Ninefields has received the Safer Street funding. I was just wondering if the portfolio holder for housing and communities could tell us a little bit more about it. And secondly, will there be a consultation on how the money will be spent? Thank you.
Right, thank you. Councillor Holly Whitbread.
Thank you, Councillor Yerrill, for that excellent question. And I'll actually be going to the Ninefield estate tomorrow to meet with some residents, but also look at where we're going to put the plans in place. And this is actually a really exciting project, and we have worked really closely with Roger Hurst to make sure we were successful in getting that bid as well. So there has been ongoing consultation with the Ninefields Residents Association, who we have a really good relationship with via kind of the housing team. So there will be consultation in that respect, but there's certainly some kind of key goals that we want to achieve in terms of really enhancing that CCTV network, in terms of waste, looking at the kind of the bin areas and making those much more neater and tidier and trying to avoid fly tipping. We're also doing quite a lot of kind of community activity and engagement, and this is particularly to do with kind of community cohesion and just bringing people together in many ways. So I'm more than happy to meet with yourself and the Residents Association to discuss the kind of implementation of this scheme. But again, I want to put on record our thanks to Roger Hurst, who we have such a good relationship with actually, which is why we were so successful in getting this bid. And it was part of £2 million, which was received across the whole of Essex as well. So that's really good news. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Whitehouse.
Thanks. Yeah, it's a question for Councillor Bedford. Thanks for the update on the local plan. I just wanted to ask if, as part of that work, the trajectory is being updated. I mean, I noted the report that went to Cabinet the other day. A lot of those commencement dates seem frankly unrealistic. Indeed, some have passed. And when will we get an updated trajectory? I mean, clearly it's fairly fundamental in terms of delivering the right number of homes at the right pace and time.
Thank you. Councillor Bedford.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Councillor Whitehouse, for that. That's actually prompted me to I will go back to officers and ask for an update on that. I think you're quite right. It is important. We need to know where we are going and where the updated trajectory is going to lead us. So hopefully, if I can get that sorted out for you this Friday at Friday's meeting, we'll get a written response back to you as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Lee.
Thank you, Chairman. I have a concern about the amount of HMOs that appear to be popping up around the district. I know of 3 in Waltham Abbey alone. My concern is, one, are they being checked properly for fire and things? Because I do know of one in Round Hills that did have a fire, but when I was trying to find out the exact address, everybody kept quiet, because obviously people that are sharing these houses, if they're closed down, where would they go? But I would really like to know what can be done, that these can be checked to make sure they're fire safety, because obviously that's the main concern. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Holly Whitbread.
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, Councillor Lee. This is an area I know you mentioned to me in passing the other day, so I have asked officers to put together a full response, but just to give you some kind of clarity and understanding of how HMOs work. So if they're for 5 bedrooms or above, for 5 people or above, they have to go through our licensing process. There are a number of HMOs across the district, and that might be for various different reasons. Obviously, they provide kind of cheaper rent solutions, but I mean, we've run HMOs ourselves actually to provide accommodation for people, particularly in the transition out of temporary accommodation as well. So you have to go through that licensing process if you are to have a HMO, and we are really stringent on that as well. So my understanding overall is 145 HMOs across the district, which was a number much higher than I initially thought when we had the conversation the other day. But we do actively seek out those who aren't licensed. So to have that license, you have to have all the fire safety checks and go through all of those processes. But we look on websites like spareroom.com to try and seek them out, but we do rely on intelligence from members of the public and councillors like yourself. So if there are any HMOs of concern, I would urge you to get in touch with us, and we will see what we can do. But I do have a detailed response which I will send over as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Patel, you wanted to come in on that question.
Sorry, Chairman, just to add, I was the portfolio holder last year, which where the enforcement cases around HMOs came through to. I can state that our teams are very good at, once the intel comes back through to them, at investigating each and every case and following through on the prosecutions. And we had a number of prosecutions last year where HMOs didn't have the required licence, and I think the maximum fine is up to £35,000, and we enacted it a couple of times.
Thank you for that additional bit of information. I've got one more person who has asked to come back for a question. I just want to check that there's nobody else who hasn't asked one who wants to come in first. Right, Councillor Wixley and then Councillor Vaz. And then I'll come back to you, Councillor McCready, if we've still got time.
Right, thank you, Chairman. I thought I was never going to get a chance, but thanks very much for that. Yeah, my question is to Councillor Nigel Bedford, the Place portfolio holder. He was quite busy tonight, but I'm referring to page 36 and the top, item 3. What I'm interested in is the Harlow and Gilston Garden Town project. And particularly, as there are going to be 3,900 homes within the Epping Forest District Council area, I'm just wondering if he would be willing to perhaps organise a visit for councillors to look at where this new town is going to be, because I'm sure it would be of great interest to many councillors. I'm not that familiar with the area, and in my early years as a councillor here, there were trips organised around the district to see what the council was responsible for. So I think it would be quite interesting if a trip could be arranged to have a look at that site. So that's my question.
Thank you. Councillor Bedford?
Thank you very much for that question, Councillor Wixley. I think the short answer has to be no. And the reason for that is we've had numerous briefings on Harlow, Gilston Garden Town over the years. We've had workshops about Epping Forest District Council's local plan. We've done work around Latin Priory, so we know where Latin Priory is on the edge. We know about the east of Harlow, what's going on there. I think the big problem for us at the moment regarding Harlow Gilston is it's now moving into the development phase where developers are putting forward their master planning projects. And I think for us at the moment, there's not a great deal to see except empty fields. I think once the new bridge has gone in, across the River Stalt, which is at the moment at a judicial review stage. Once that's in and the spades go in the ground, as we say, for the first of the new field developments, it may be more of an opportunity to go and have a look then as the development starts to come on stream. It is a major, major project. I don't think there's been anything done like this that has involved 5 different authorities involved in the same project. I mean, we are talking about probably a £2.5 billion development at the end of the day, which is an awful lot of money, and it's a massive, massive undertaking by all the local authorities. And there's nothing to see at the moment. It is literally a few fields. So I wouldn't rule it out completely, but I would suggest that it would be more beneficial to councillors perhaps to start doing that as the first developments come online. The first one, I believe, is actually being submitted as a master plan, is the Latin Priory development. Some work is already undertaken for the Latin Priory side, which is on the border of Harlow, but some work has already been done on the Gilston development already. So once those developments start kicking off, I think that's probably a more opportunities to go and have a look. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Vaz?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Frank Breton House is in my ward in Ongar. I was there on the 21st of June at the official opening after a recent refurbishment. Can I ask Councillor Holly Whitbread why this work was done and if there are plans to do similar works across the district? Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Holly Whitbread?
Thank you, Councillor Vaz. Excellent question, and good to see you also at the Frank Breton House opening. This is the first of the regenerations of our sheltered scheme, and it is something that we are looking to bring forward further. In fact, we brought a report to the last Community Select Committee, which was well received, I think, and I look forward to bringing that to Cabinet in a few months' time. The regeneration of our sheltered housing, I would argue, is one of the most important parts of our regeneration scheme. One of the biggest challenges we have in terms of housing is trying to get people to downsize, and in order to do that, we do have to create nice places for people to live. So the sheltered accommodation that we do have, we have to make more appealing to older people across the district. I'm sure you will agree that Frank Bretton House looked great. The communal space was much improved. We took into consideration dementia-friendly communities, as well as appealing to all ages as well, because obviously 65 now is very young, and people don't necessarily want to be stuck in the traditional idea of sheltered accommodation. So I hope what we're doing is modernising and bringing forward a new model for sheltered accommodation which people will actually want to live in. Thank you.
Thank you very much. If I haven't got anybody else, if it's a quick question, Councillor McCready, I'll let you come back with another question.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. It's regarding Ride London, and this was a very exciting event for our district. However, I do have some concerns about the adverse effect it has had on some of the local businesses, and was wondering if we have actually had a debrief yet, or are we going to have a debrief? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm not sure whose portfolio. Councillor Phillip?
Thank you, Councillor McCready. Yes, from an economic development point of view, we have looked at it. We're not completely finished on that yet, but I can say that we have footfall monitoring software, which is called HUC, which you may see in some of my reports. And what we did notice was that Epping did see a downturn in footfall, almost completely balanced by a similar rise in footfall in Waltham Abbey. And the footfall in Ongar, as I'm sure Councillor McIver knows, was significant, particularly on the Sunday. It was very popular there. We are looking at it. We do a lot of work with the Federation of Small Businesses as well to make sure that we gave as much support as we could do. The Ride London this year, we had very little time to react to it. And if it goes forward, we'll obviously be in a better position to take it forward with better work with our local businesses. But overall, the feedback has more been positive than negative, but we will continue to take that into place.
Okay. Thank you very much. And that completes our 30 minutes, which was nicely matched into the time we had for those questions. So thank you all very much. We now move on to item 10 on the agenda, which is motions, and I don't believe we have any motions. So we move on to item 11, which is the Overview and Scrutiny Committee. Under that is to receive the annual Overview and Scrutiny Report. In fact, the order in which these are set in the agenda is slightly different, but I will hand over to Councillor Kane to take us through this. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. If I follow the agenda, I will ask the members, page 95 should have been really in front of page 73. Because what it is it really says about the attached final draft of the Overview and Scrutiny 21-22, the annual report, which actually highlights the excellent work of the Overview and Scrutiny and the select committees of that year. This report has been going through extensive editing. Changes have been noted, have been agreed, and we are ready to submit it to you, to the Council, to actually approve and agree the report. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You've got questions on the report, Councillor Murray?
I've got a comment on the report.
That's right. Okay, thank you. If you'd like to make your comment.
Thank you. I don't have questions because I've followed the process very carefully, looked at the draft that went to ONS and looked at the final draft. But mine is a point of congratulations, and it's to do with page 83, where we have the item about the call-in on tree planting for Jessel Green. And I want to say two things, both really positive. Firstly, I think that this is a good way of, or a really good example of scrutiny working really well. The portfolio holder made a decision. It was called in by local members because they felt the decision could be improved. And then it was settled by an informal discussion rather than having to follow the whole process, and the outcome of where the trees were planted and how the trees were going to be planted has produced a much better solution. So that's the first thing I wanted to say about it. And the second thing I wanted to say, because it's probably the last opportunity I want to congratulate Epping Forest District Council for. It was only a couple of years previous to this tree planting scheme that they wanted to build on it. So can I say well done again for seeing the error of your ways, or perhaps more accurately, doing what the inspector told you that you better do, and use this as perhaps the last opportunity to acknowledge the wonderful grassroots campaign of Save the Jessel Green campaign, perhaps the best organised and largest community campaign I've seen in 40 years of active politics here in Epping Forest. So well done to the campaign group, well done to the people who wrote this scrutiny report, and well done to the leadership of the council who in the end did the right thing by Jessel Green.
Thank you very much for those comments, Councillor Murray. Councillor Kane, do you want to put it formally to be approved by council if we've got no other comments?
Yes, please, if the members are to agree the report. Thank you.
So, members, are you happy to approve this report? Agreed. Thank you very much. And now we move on to the report on page...
Can I continue now? Yeah.
I'm just going to say we're moving on to the report on page 71.
That's correct.
Which is the meeting of the Overview and Scrutiny Committee that took place in June.
That's correct. Chairman, we had, you and members, you have the report of the Overview Scrutiny Committee on the 16th of June. Nevertheless, we had a meeting on Tuesday this week, so perhaps if that's all right with you, I would like to give you an update. Thank you. Just to say, members, that we went through cabinet business and KPIs, and we had a good debate, and we were grateful to have answers to all our questions by the member of officers that attended our meeting and represented all the portfolios. Of course, we will continue to scrutinise the Council's business in a positive and constructive way. I also encourage other councillors to attend the ONS meeting because, especially the newly elected members, because we have questions that might enhance their knowledge of how the Council works. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Murray?
Thank you, Chairman. I had a number of comments to say on this item, but all very brief. As regards the 16th of June, I do just want to put on record that some of the presentation by the leader was challenged by me in considerable detail at that meeting. That's obviously not reflected in the report. I wouldn't expect it to be, and I'm not suggesting that people who've got time to listen to it on the webcast, but I didn't want members to think that there wasn't any scrutiny of what the leader presented on the 16th of June. There was a general consensus of agreement, but equally there was some areas where I challenged him in terms of the overall corporate priorities. But I won't go into that tonight. That's not the right place to do that. As regards Tuesday's meeting, I just wanted to say I thought that that was an excellent example of where the slightly different emphasis that the chairman has encouraged ONS to adopt this year is where we're going to be spending more time actually scrutinising council activities rather than external presentations. And I thought Tuesday was a really good example of that. If we had had an external organisation presenting as well as us looking at the performance indicators, I don't think we would have spent as long rigorously interrogating, scrutinising is the better word, scrutinising around the performance indicators. And it was really good to have officers that didn't have to attend the meeting in person, but were able to attend by Zoom and answer questions directly on the night as regards those performance indicators. It is important, and I said this at ONS on Tuesday, but I deliberately wanted to say it in a wider forum as well, and I know the councillor Kane, we're singing from the same hymn sheet, Methodist hymn sheet, of course, but we're singing from the same hymn sheet here. We don't want to lose any scrutiny of external organisations, but that's going to be more a presentation to all the council, and in an informal way. So we're not going to lose that completely. And I think just the final comment, and I'm only saying this because this is my opportunity to say it, I did a little bit of informal scrutiny on Tuesday, and I went to the first Play in the Park session in Loughton, and Loughton's lucky enough to have 9 sessions, and it was absolutely brilliant. Ram-packed with young children, parents, grandparents, and it was just fantastic, and the quality of the staff was really good. And I know it wasn't deliberate, but I think it is worth recognising also that that part of the programme is a really good example of the District Council working with parishes, because I do understand that parishes put in quite a bit of the funding towards the Play in the Park schemes, and rightly so. But it was absolutely excellent, Chairman.
Thank you for those comments, particularly on that last matter. And I know that Play in the Park is going out to all areas of the district, including the village wards as well. So it's one that touches a lot of areas. Councillor Kane.
And then following the agenda again, I'm of course here to answer any of your questions or take any other comments. And thank you, Councillor Murray, for your kind words.
Have we got any other questions or comments on the reports? In that case, as you can see from the agenda, these reports are just for noting, but thank you very much, Councillor Kane. We now move on to what is the first of Supplement 4, which is agenda item 11A, it is shown at us on the papers, and it's for nominations to be considered and appointment to be made to the vacancy on the Licensing Committee for the remainder of the 2022-23 municipal year. And I think if I can hand over to Councillor Whitbread.
Thank you, Chairman. Chairman, following on from full council back in May, there was one position remaining on the licensing committee. I understand it is a position that should be the entitlement of the Green Party. However, I have got a member who would be willing and able and fully trained to take that position if it was available. And therefore, if the Green Party hasn't got a nomination for that position, I'd like to put forward Councillor Sunga.
Thank you very much. Councillor Heap, do you wish to make any comment on that?
We don't have anybody to fill that position.
Thank you very much. So, have we got any other nominations? In which case, are members happy to support the nomination of Councillor Sunga as the councillor to fill that vacancy? Thank you very much. And then the agenda item 12, which comes under the outside bodies. If I can first of all deal with the paper which is listed before you as a supplementary, the appointment to outside body for the Epping Forest Cultural and Community Trust. And again, if I can go to Councillor Chris Whitbread.
Thank you, Chairman. Chairman, I'm amazed this hasn't come up before, actually, since the trust was originally set up back in 2017 to deal with marketing and promotion of the sports centre, the leisure museum services even, to bring additional funding in and expertise for marketing. For some reason, it never came forward that actually members should have been appointed properly through full council. We're recommending 2 members of the council to be on the trust, and I would be this evening I would suggest that we do this for a period of 2 years, because then we will have all our elections in 24, and then members can consider the term after that for members on that body. And I would at this stage like to recommend to members that we will be put forward Councillor Kane and Councillor Nowicki, who are already members of that panel, and Councillor Sartin. I think you're there as a in another capacity, but I would recommend that to members this evening.
Thank you very much, Councillor Whitbread. Probably just clarify that you're referring to Councillor Helen Kane. Sorry. Have we any other nominations that anybody wishes to put forward? In that case, are members happy to support the nomination of Councillor Helen Kane and Councillor Wecki as trustees on the Epping Forest Culture and Community Trust?
Agreed.
Thank you very much. For 2 years, yes. Yeah. And then if we've got any representatives on outside bodies who wish to put anything forward this evening, Councillor Helen Kane.
Thank you, Chairman. As you know, I'm representative of Epping Forest District Council to the Royal Gunpowder Mills. Well, members, I would like to update you with the news, hot off the press, as the meeting took place today, late morning to be precise. As we all know, the site has been closed for 2 years, but now and over 2 months is open on a reduced basis on Sundays and some bank holidays. The number of visitors is variable. They started, as soon as it opened, started with very large numbers, like 100 a day, when it first opened. But when the London Ride event, they had to close, that had an adverse impact on the number of visitors, as many thought that it will remain closed. You know how rumours start. The management have made tremendous efforts to reverse this opinion, so now the numbers are actually back to the 100 plus per day. Did you know that during the First World War, almost 1 million women worked in Britain's munitions industry? In 1918, in particular, the Women's Work Committee was actively collecting for the newly formed Imperial War Museum. They commissioned a great deal of photographic work. By March 1918, half of the Royal Gunpowder Mills, 6,230 employees were women. They were known as Munituinettes. They were also nicknamed as Canary Girls because of the chemicals they worked with turned their skin yellow. If you have the opportunity, please visit the Women in War exhibition at the Royal Gunpowder Mills. And walking tours will start taking place on the 10th of August and 7th of September. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Has anybody got any questions of Councillor Kane? Councillor Kaufman.
Madam Chairman, and thank you, Councillor Kane, regarding the Royal Gunpowder Mills, which is something that's very close to my heart. I would like the Council to consider becoming more involved with the Gunpowder Mills to see how we can promote what is probably the best asset in the district, the most unknown gem in this district, in terms of it becoming a centre for regeneration. It has buildings that are capable of being brought back into use, just doesn't have the money. I urge members to look at what's happened at a place called Bicester Heritage. If they look at what Bicester Heritage has achieved, it is an absolute exemplar of how you can bring forward regeneration in a district for small businesses. We chronically lack small SME type business units. We have nowhere in the district to put these people. We could create a science and an innovation park that works in tandem with what the Gunpowder Mills stands for. It needs investment. We have Qualis available. It has regeneration money available from the government, and we can really do something positive for the district. So I would like to work with Councillor Kane just to see if that is something we can do. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And so for you to take on board, Councillor Kane.
Yes, thank you very much. And I know I am aware that Qualis members went to and visited the Royal Gunpowder Mill, so I would like to actually do. And just for your information, the management has put a couple of bids for a lot of money in order to continue the site and the rebuilding of the buildings that they're falling apart.
Thank you very much. Councillor Murray, did you indicate that you wanted to...
I had a very brief report from an outside body. I represent the council on the Roding Valley Meadows Nature Reserve that the Essex Wildlife Trust manage on our behalf. And I just wanted to report after a fairly lengthy interim period, we're very fortunate to now have a full-time warden in post and a deputy warden in post, both women. I've met them for the first time at the management committee meeting, and very formidable, and they will be managing a very good reserve there.
Thank you very much for that. I don't see anybody wanted to ask any questions, so Councillor Brooks, do you want to...
My question is actually to Councillor Kane.
Oh,
if that's
sorry,
all right.
I apologise.
I'm sorry. I didn't realise Councillor Murray was going to give his report. I know a lot of organisations have experienced problems getting their volunteers back, and I know the gunpowder mills, when I visited pre-pandemic, had a very dedicated bunch, and I just wondered how they were doing with their volunteers. Have old ones returned, and have they managed to recruit some new ones?
Councillor Kane.
Yeah, thank you very much. That was actually discussed today. And all the tours and everything else, it's based on the number of volunteers they have. So the fact that they're starting the tours again in August, it means that they have fulfilled, and they're still looking for volunteers, but they have fulfilled. A lot of them actually did not return, I must say. But thank you very much for the question.
Thank you very much. And again, as you know, this is a standing item on the agenda. We do have quite a number of members who sit on outside bodies. It is just that reminder to bring back reports, and I know that I'm as guilty as everybody else in getting my act together and doing anything, but I know that Councillor Morgan and myself will be looking at bringing forward a report on the Grange Farm Trust shortly. So thank you very much. And if we have got no other business and we have no reason to exclude public and press, I will close the meeting at 12 minutes past 8.